Have you ever wondered why Sagittarius, with their boundless energy and adventurous spirit, can often seem distant or even frustrating to those around them? Known for their optimism and passion for life, Sagittarians are often seen as the free-spirited souls of the Zodiac. But what if I told you that their very traits, the ones that make them so charismatic and magnetic, are also the reasons why they are one of the most misunderstood and disliked signs of all? Today, we're diving deep into the 21 surprising reasons why Sagittarius earns such a reputation in the Zodiac world. From their brutal honesty to their tendency to disappear without explanation. You may find that these traits can create tension and frustration in their relationships, both personal and professional. And here's the twist, some of these reasons might shock you. Especially the one at number 2, which many people don't even realize. Before we jump into the intriguing world of Sagittarius, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever encountered someone with Sagittarius energy? Someone who captivated you but left you feeling confused or alienated? If so, you're not alone. The truth behind their actions and behaviors may help explain why they can be so difficult to understand. Stay with us as we explore these truths, shedding light on the complex nature of Sagittarius. By the end of this video, you'll gain a deeper understanding of this fiery sign. If you're ready to uncover the secrets of the Zodiac and dive into more content like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Join the Zen Mind Peaceful Life community for more fascinating insights into astrology and personal growth. Let's get started. Reason 1. Sagittarius detects lies and disappears without explanation. Sagittarians are known for their sharp intuition and innate ability to detect dishonesty. These individuals can sense when someone is being fake or hiding something, and they can often tell when people are not being genuine. This extraordinary skill, while impressive, can lead to tension in relationships. Instead of confronting the person about their dishonesty or having an open discussion, Sagittarius tends to withdraw. When they detect a lie, they often disappear without any explanation or closure, leaving others confused and frustrated. This behavior stems from their strong desire to protect themselves from negative energy and deceit. To a Sagittarius, maintaining their freedom and personal integrity is far more important than engaging in conflict or dealing with an uncomfortable conversation. They value honesty and transparency in all relationships. And when they sense that someone is hiding the truth, they would rather retreat than engage in a meaningless discussion. While this is an admirable trait in terms of self-preservation, it often comes off as cold or rude to others. People who care about Sagittarius might feel abandoned, wondering why their friend or partner chose to disappear without a word. This inability to explain themselves or offer closure can create a sense of alienation, which contributes to the negative reputation that Sagittarius often has. For those who find themselves in a relationship with a Sagittarius, it is important to understand that this behavior is not personal. They may seem distant or unapproachable, but it's really their way of protecting themselves from dishonesty or negative influences. To connect with a Sagittarius, you must respect their need for space and be prepared to earn their trust through honesty and genuine interactions. Reason 2. Patience is key to winning over a Sagittarius. Sagittarians are fiery and passionate, and they often act impulsively. While their adventurous spirit can be exciting, it also means that they are quick to anger or frustration when things don't go according to their plan. When upset, a Sagittarius can lash out with sharp words or actions, leaving others to deal with the fallout. This intensity can overwhelm those who are unprepared for the emotional surge that comes with dealing with a Sagittarius' fiery nature. For anyone looking to build a strong connection with a Sagittarius, patience is essential. They have a strong sense of independence and a desire for things to go their way. When these expectations are not met, they can become defensive and aggressive, often pushing people away rather than calmly discussing their feelings. This quick-tempered nature makes Sagittarius challenging to deal with in relationships, both personal and professional. They tend to react impulsively, and their frustration can create friction with those around them. However, once you've earned a Sagittarius trust and respect, they can be some of the most loyal and exciting people to be around. To connect with a Sagittarius, you need to understand their need for freedom and their desire for things to unfold without interference. They do not respond well to pressure, so give them the space they need to cool down and come to terms with their emotions. Over time, you may find that their quick temper is a sign of their passion and dedication to what they care about most, but until then, patience will be key to making the relationship work. Reason 3. Sagittarius hates giving explanations. One of the most frustrating traits of Sagittarius is their refusal to give explanations for their actions. Sagittarians are fiercely independent and confident in their choices. They believe that their decisions are theirs alone, and they don't feel the need to justify their actions to anyone. This can be difficult for those who are looking for clarity or understanding, especially in relationships where communication is key. Sagittarians tend to view their actions as personal and private, and they expect others to respect that. When asked to explain themselves, they often shut down or become irritated. Instead of engaging in a detailed conversation about their motivations, they prefer to act on their own terms and keep their reasons to themselves. This can be particularly frustrating for partners, friends, or colleagues who may feel like they are left in the dark. This reluctance to explain themselves often makes Sagittarius appear secretive or even arrogant. However, from their perspective, they simply don't feel the need to defend their decisions. They believe that they are entitled to their autonomy and that no one should question their actions. While this can be seen as a strength, it also leads to misunderstandings and strained relationships. For those who are trying to understand a Sagittarius better, it's essential to accept that they may never offer you a detailed explanation for everything they do. If you want to build a lasting relationship with a Sagittarius, focus on trust and respect their need for independence. If they feel safe with you, they might open up eventually. But don't expect them to justify every choice they make. Reason 4. Never force a Sagittarius to do anything. Sagittarians are known for their love of freedom and their resistance to being controlled. They will not tolerate being told what to do, whether it's a social obligation, a responsibility, or a simple request. Forcing a Sagittarius into something is akin to poking a bear. The more you push, the more they will resist. This characteristic makes Sagittarius one of the most independent signs of the zodiac, but it also makes them incredibly difficult to deal with. If you try to impose your will on a Sagittarius, they will likely push back, sometimes aggressively. They value their autonomy above all else, and any attempt to limit it or restrict their choices will be met with resistance. This can make them seem rebellious or defiant, especially in situations where they are expected to follow certain rules or expectations. Sagittarians have a strong sense of self, and they are not easily manipulated. They will not do anything just because someone tells them to, and they have no problem acting impulsively if they feel their freedom is being threatened. While this can be seen as a positive trait in terms of self-confidence, it can be frustrating for those who are trying to make them conform to certain expectations. To navigate a relationship with a Sagittarius, it's essential to avoid trying to control them. Instead, focus on building mutual respect and understanding. If you allow a Sagittarius to feel free to make their own decisions, they will appreciate it, and your relationship will flourish. However, if you attempt to force them into something, you risk alienating them. Reason 5. Sagittarius attracts everyone but often pushes them away. Sagittarians are incredibly charming and magnetic. They have an infectious energy that draws people to them, and their adventurous spirit makes them the life of any party. Their enthusiasm and optimism can be captivating, and it's easy for others to get caught up in their excitement. However, the very qualities that make them so attractive can also lead to their downfall. Sagittarians are constantly seeking new experiences and don't like to stay in one place for too long. Once they've captured someone's attention, They often lose interest quickly and move on to the next exciting thing. This can make them appear flaky or unreliable, especially in relationships where stability and commitment are expected. For those who get close to a Sagittarius, it can be incredibly frustrating to feel like they're being used for fun and then discarded when the Sagittarius gets bored. Their inability to stick with one thing for too long can make people feel unimportant or neglected. While Sagittarians may not intend to hurt anyone, their tendency to push people away after initially drawing them in is one of the main reasons they are often disliked. To maintain a healthy relationship with a Sagittarius, it's important to recognize their need for novelty and independence. If you understand that they are always seeking new experiences and respect their need for freedom, you can find a balance that works for both of you. However, if you try to hold on to them too tightly, you risk pushing them away. Let them roam and explore, and they will come back to you when they're ready. Reason 6. Sagittarius women love men with heart. Sagittarius women are drawn to men who show compassion for others, who are selfless and care deeply about humanity. They're captivated by individuals who can inspire them, who are generous with their time, and who work toward improving the world. These women admire those who live with purpose and sincerity. However, as admirable as these qualities are, they can often lead to frustration in relationships, especially if the expectations aren't met. Sagittarius women tend to be highly idealistic when it comes to love and relationships. They have an innate desire for their partners to embody the same values of kindness, compassion, and selflessness. When their partners fail to live up to these expectations, Sagittarius women can become critical, disillusioned, and even lose interest altogether. This creates a standard that can be almost impossible for most people to reach, leading to dissatisfaction in relationships. For many, it can feel like they are constantly falling short of the high expectations set by Sagittarius women, which can lead to resentment and frustration. As a result, Sagittarius women are sometimes seen as emotionally distant and hard to please. The problem is not necessarily the high standards, but rather the difficulty in meeting them consistently. To build a meaningful relationship with a Sagittarius woman, it's important to show genuine compassion and kindness toward others, not just to her. By aligning your actions with her values, you can foster a deeper, more fulfilling connection. However, if you are unable to meet her high standards, it may be challenging to maintain a lasting bond. Reason 7. Sagittarius can't stand people intruding in their life. A Sagittarius sense of personal freedom and autonomy is sacred to them. They do not take kindly to anyone invading their personal space or attempting to involve themselves too deeply in their affairs. Whether it's unsolicited advice, unwanted attention, or anyone trying to push their way into a Sagittarius life without invitation, they will quickly shut it down. Sagittarians are fiercely independent and value their privacy. They often prefer to handle their own issues and make decisions without interference from others. When people try to get too close or offer unsolicited opinions, they may react with irritation or dismissiveness. This can make them seem cold, unapproachable, or even rude, especially to those who genuinely care and are trying to be supportive. This need for personal space can create tension, especially in relationships where the other person may feel rejected or unwanted. Sagittarius might not always communicate their need for space clearly, and as a result, others can feel hurt or alienated. But for Sagittarius, it's a matter of self-preservation. They simply cannot function if they feel their freedom is being threatened. If you want to build a strong relationship with a Sagittarius, understanding and respecting their boundaries is crucial. They need room to breathe and think freely. Rather than pushing yourself into their world, offer your support in a way that honors their independence. Give them space to come and go as they please, and they will be much more likely to engage with you on their own terms. Reason 8. Sagittarius hates slow-paced people. Sagittarians are known for their fast-paced, high-energy nature. They are constantly moving forward, driven by an inner need to achieve and explore. As a result, they find it incredibly frustrating when they encounter people who are slow, indecisive, or hesitant in their actions. This impatience can create tension in both personal and professional settings. For Sagittarius, life is a race to the finish line, and they expect everyone to keep up. They don't understand why anyone would procrastinate or hesitate when there's so much to be done. This can lead to a lack of patience with people who don't share their sense of urgency or drive. In relationships, Sagittarius may come off as dismissive or critical, especially if they feel their partner isn't pulling their weight or isn't motivated to pursue their own goals. Sagittarians thrive on progress and self-improvement, and they expect others to be equally ambitious. If someone isn't moving at the same speed or putting in the same level of effort, Sagittarius might feel like they are being held back. This can lead to frustration and even the dissolution of relationships or partnerships. To keep a healthy relationship with a Sagittarius, it's essential to demonstrate a strong sense of motivation and ambition. You need to keep pace with their energy and show that you are also striving to better yourself. However, if you move at a slower pace or struggle with indecision, Sagittarius may become disillusioned and withdraw. Reason 9. Sagittarius independence makes it hard to find a partner. Sagittarius is one of the most independent signs in the zodiac, and this independence often makes it difficult for them to form lasting, committed relationships. They value their freedom above all else and are hesitant to tie themselves down to anyone or anything that might restrict their personal autonomy. For Sagittarius, being in a relationship means a certain level of compromise, which can feel like a loss of freedom. They crave space and time to pursue their interests and passions, and they aren't always willing to sacrifice that for the sake of a relationship. When things get too intense or when their partner begins to demand too much attention or emotional connection, Sagittarius can become distant or withdraw altogether. This strong desire for independence makes Sagittarius seem emotionally unavailable or unattainable. They may have difficulty settling down or fully committing to someone because they fear losing themselves in the process. While they are capable of deep connections, they are often reluctant to form them, especially if they feel that it will limit their freedom. If you are interested in a Sagittarius, it's important to understand that they need their independence to thrive. They won't easily give it up, and any attempt to control or restrict them will push them away. If you can respect their need for autonomy and allow them the space to grow and explore, you may find that they will open up to you in their own time. But if you try to force them into a commitment too soon, they will likely retreat. Reason 10. Sagittarius values silence and tranquility. While Sagittarius is often known for their outgoing and adventurous nature, they also deeply value moments of silence and solitude. They are not always the life of the party and, at times, may prefer to withdraw into themselves and reflect on their thoughts. This need for quiet time can sometimes be misinterpreted as indifference or coldness. Sagittarians are not people who constantly seek attention or validation from others. Instead, they appreciate moments of tranquility where they can recharge and reconnect with their inner selves. However, this can create tension in relationships, especially if others don't understand or respect their need for space. If a Sagittarius seems distant or disengaged, it's not necessarily because they don't care. They simply need time alone to process their thoughts and emotions. This behavior can be particularly frustrating for extroverted individuals or those who rely on constant interaction for emotional support. To a Sagittarius, silence is not a rejection, it's an opportunity to reflect and regroup. For anyone trying to understand a Sagittarius, it's essential to recognize that their need for silence is a natural part of their personality. It's not a sign of emotional unavailability, but rather a form of self-care. If you can respect this need for solitude, you'll find that the Sagittarius will open up when they are ready. Reason 11. Sagittarius needs constant motivation. One of the most distinctive traits of a Sagittarius is their need for constant inspiration and motivation. This zodiac sign is driven by a deep desire to learn, grow, and experience life to its fullest potential. However, this drive can be both a blessing and a curse. When a Sagittarius is not motivated or doesn't feel passionate about a task, they can quickly lose interest and abandon it without hesitation. This lack of consistency can frustrate those around them, particularly in professional settings where dedication and perseverance are essential. Sagittarius has a tendency to jump from one project or idea to another, seeking excitement and challenge but often abandoning things that no longer inspire them. This unpredictability can lead to feelings of disappointment in friends, colleagues, and partners who may be counting on them. In relationships, a Sagittarius' need for constant motivation can make them seem unreliable. They will only invest time and energy into a connection if they feel emotionally or intellectually stimulated. If the relationship starts to feel routine or lacks excitement, they may lose interest quickly. While this trait may be seen as a positive in terms of a constant quest for self-improvement, it can leave others feeling unsupported or neglected. If you're involved with a Sagittarius, understanding their need for external motivation is key. Try to keep the relationship fresh by constantly challenging and inspiring them. However, if you can't keep up with their ever-evolving interests, they may drift away in search of something more exciting or intellectually stimulating. Reason 12. Sagittarius has a childlike sense of humor. Sagittarius is known for their playful and carefree nature, which is often reflected in their sense of humor. They have an infectious laugh and a love for jokes, pranks, and playful banter. Their humor tends to be lighthearted and sometimes irreverent, making them the life of the party and often the center of attention. However, their childlike sense of humor can be off-putting to those who prefer more serious or mature conversations. Sagittarians tend to find humor in almost anything, from trivial matters to more serious topics, and they may not always know when to tone it down. What seems funny to them might come across as inappropriate or immature to others, particularly in more serious settings. People who prefer a more grounded and serious approach to life may find this trait to be annoying or even disrespectful. For Sagittarius, laughter is a way of releasing tension and connecting with others, but not everyone shares their lighthearted perspective. Their playful nature may clash with those who are dealing with personal struggles or who need a more empathetic, serious approach. Over time, this can create frustration and distance in relationships, especially if others feel that Sagittarius is not taking things seriously when needed. If you want to connect with a Sagittarius, embrace their sense of humor, but also recognize when it's time to tone it down. Show them that you can appreciate their playful side, but also let them know when it's time for a more serious conversation. Reason 13. Sagittarius is open but doesn't share emotions. While Sagittarians are generally open about almost every aspect of their lives, there is one thing they often keep hidden: their emotions. This paradoxical trait makes Sagittarius seem like an open book to those around them, but when it comes to their inner feelings and vulnerabilities, they tend to be closed off. Despite their outgoing and energetic nature, Sagittarians are notorious for keeping their emotional struggles to themselves. They are often seen as emotionally distant or aloof because they rarely open up about what they're truly feeling. This can be frustrating for friends, family, and partners who may want to understand them on a deeper, emotional level. Sagittarians often prefer to deal with their emotions privately or in solitude, rather than discussing them with others. This behavior is rooted in their desire for independence and self-sufficiency. They value their emotional freedom and are reluctant to rely on others for support. For them, vulnerability can feel like a weakness, and they may avoid showing it, even to those they care about. For those in relationships with Sagittarius, it's important to recognize that emotional closeness may take time. If you want to build a deeper connection, it's essential to give them space to express their feelings when they're ready. Don't push them to open up before they're comfortable. And understand that their emotional distance is not a sign of disinterest, but rather a reflection of their need for independence. Reason 14. Sagittarius doesn't like advice or recommendations. Sagittarians have a strong sense of independence, and they don't take kindly to anyone telling them what to do. Whether it's advice on their personal life, career decisions, or any other aspect. Sagittarius tends to reject suggestions and recommendations from others. They pride themselves on being able to navigate life on their own terms, and they are not fans of anyone attempting to dictate their actions. This stubbornness can lead to conflict, especially in relationships where one partner may be trying to offer guidance or help. Sagittarius feels that they know what's best for themselves, and they often don't appreciate anyone questioning their judgment. In fact, they can become defensive and argumentative when others try to impose their views on them. While this may stem from a desire to maintain their freedom and autonomy, it can be perceived as arrogance or pride by those around them. When Sagittarius refuses to listen to advice, it can create tension, especially when their decisions lead to negative consequences. Others may feel that they are not being heard or that their opinions are being dismissed, which can lead to resentment. If you want to engage with a Sagittarius in a meaningful way, it's essential to approach them with respect for their autonomy. Offer advice only when they ask for it, and avoid pushing them to see things from your perspective. The more you try to control their decisions, the more they will resist, so instead, encourage them to make their own choices, even if they lead to mistakes. Reason 15. Sagittarius doesn't look back in relationships. Sagittarius is notorious for moving on quickly when a relationship comes to an end. Once they decide that it's over, they are usually very decisive about severing ties and moving forward. Unlike some zodiac signs that may dwell on the past or continue to revisit old wounds, Sagittarius has no interest in looking back once they've made up their mind. This can be especially painful for those left behind, as Sagittarius may completely disconnect without any desire for closure or reconciliation. They don't often revisit past relationships or consider second chances. If they've moved on, they do so fully, leaving behind any emotional attachments. This detachment can make Sagittarius seem emotionally cold or indifferent, even though they may have cared deeply at one point. For their ex-partners or friends, this can create feelings of abandonment and confusion. They may feel like they've been discarded without any real resolution. Sagittarius, however, sees this as a way of protecting themselves and moving forward without emotional baggage. Once they've decided that a relationship is no longer serving them, they will quickly cut ties and focus on new experiences. If you're involved with a Sagittarius, it's important to understand that once they make the decision to end a relationship, it's unlikely they will look back. Trying to rekindle a past relationship with them may be futile, as they've already moved on. If you are still connected with a Sagittarius, it's crucial to respect their decision and give them the space they need to move forward. Reason 16. Sagittarius is always extremely cheerful. Sagittarians are often known for their unrelenting optimism and cheerful outlook on life. They have an energy that radiates positivity, and they are quick to share that energy with everyone around them. Their enthusiasm is contagious, and they genuinely want to spread joy. However, this constant cheerfulness can become overwhelming for those who are dealing with difficult emotions or are simply not in the mood to be constantly uplifted. For many people, constant positivity can be exhausting, especially in times of hardship. When someone is grieving, stressed, or struggling, they may not appreciate a Sagittarius' insistence on staying cheerful and upbeat. While the intention is never to minimize other people's feelings, Sagittarius' inability to read the emotional atmosphere around them can make them appear inconsiderate or even tone-deaf to others' emotional needs. Their unshakable optimism can also come off as a refusal to acknowledge the more serious aspects of life. Sagittarius may seem dismissive of other people's struggles, which can lead to feelings of alienation. For those who prefer a more grounded, empathetic approach to difficult times, the endless positivity of Sagittarius can feel dismissive or even frustrating. To build a better connection with a Sagittarius, It's important to encourage them to recognize when their cheerful nature might not be the best fit for the situation. By showing them how to balance their optimism with empathy and sensitivity, you can help them navigate situations in a way that feels more inclusive and understanding to everyone involved. Reason 17. Sagittarius is passionate about intimacy. Sagittarians are known for their intense passion, and this extends to their intimate relationships. They approach intimacy with a fiery enthusiasm and seek deep connections that stimulate both their body and mind. However, this intense passion can border on obsession, and Sagittarius may sometimes struggle to find a balance between physical attraction and emotional connection. Their desire for excitement and novelty can make their relationships seem more like challenges or competitions rather than genuine emotional bonds. Sagittarius often looks for a partner who can match their high energy and intellectual stimulation, and they are always searching for the next great adventure in love. This desire for constant stimulation can lead to a pattern of jumping from one relationship to another without truly committing or establishing emotional depth. For those in relationships with Sagittarius, it can be frustrating to feel like they are only valued for their physical or intellectual qualities. Sagittarius' tendency to focus on excitement and thrill in intimacy can leave their partners feeling unimportant or neglected when the initial spark fades. Their lack of commitment and tendency to prioritize novelty can also contribute to emotional instability in their relationships. To create a deeper, more fulfilling connection with Sagittarius, it's essential to establish a balance between passion and emotional depth. Encourage them to value intimacy in its full spectrum, not just as a source of excitement, but as an opportunity to foster real emotional intimacy and trust. Reason 18. Sagittarius seeks intellectual connection in intimacy. While Sagittarius is passionate and adventurous, they are also deeply intellectual and seek a partner who can challenge them intellectually. They value meaningful conversations and the exchange of ideas, and they want a partner who can engage them on a mental level. This desire for intellectual stimulation makes them highly selective when it comes to romantic partners. Sagittarius wants someone who can match their intensity, not just in terms of physical attraction, but in their intellectual pursuits as well. For them, a successful relationship is one where both partners can push each other to grow and evolve, constantly challenging each other's ideas and beliefs. However, this can create tension in relationships where the partner may not share the same intellectual drive or ambition. The pursuit of intellectual connection can sometimes make Sagittarius seem superior or dismissive of others who may not match their intellectual pace. They can be so focused on finding someone who can outwit or surpass them that they inadvertently make others feel inadequate or pressured to meet unrealistic standards. This intellectual competitiveness can put a strain on relationships, especially if one partner feels like they are constantly being tested or judged. If you're in a relationship with a Sagittarius, it's important to foster open communication and allow room for both emotional and intellectual connections to grow. Instead of focusing solely on intellectual challenge, Sagittarius should also make space for emotional bonding and vulnerability, which are equally important for a healthy relationship. Reason 19. Sagittarius desires constant self-improvement. Sagittarians are always striving to be better versions of themselves. Their inner drive for self-improvement is one of the defining characteristics of their personality. They are always learning, growing, and evolving, whether through education, travel, or new experiences. However, this relentless pursuit of personal growth can sometimes make them seem self-centered or disconnected from the emotional needs of those around them. Sagittarius' focus on constant self-improvement can sometimes make them appear arrogant or condescending, as they may expect others to match their level of ambition and personal development. They often view those who are content with their current state as stagnant or unmotivated, and they have little patience for anyone who isn't constantly striving to better themselves. This mindset can alienate friends and partners who don't share the same level of ambition, leading to frustration and feelings of inadequacy. In relationships, Sagittarius may struggle to acknowledge the emotional needs of their partner, as they are more focused on their own goals and growth. They may not always take the time to nurture the emotional aspect of their relationships, which can lead to dissatisfaction and emotional distance. To create more balance in their lives, Sagittarius must learn to consider the needs and feelings of others alongside their own pursuit of self-improvement. It's important for them to realize that personal growth should not come at the expense of emotional connections and that a true partnership requires mutual support, understanding, and compromise. Reason 20. Sagittarius pretends to be naive when confronted with lies. Sagittarius is known for their brutal honesty, but when it comes to confronting lies, they sometimes take a more subtle approach. Instead of directly confronting the person or calling out the lie, Sagittarius may pretend to be completely naive, allowing the situation to unfold before revealing the truth. This tactic can come across as manipulative or childish, as they let the lie play out to see how far it goes before stepping in. While this may be a way for Sagittarius to test the integrity of others or to expose dishonesty, it often creates unnecessary drama and tension. Rather than confronting the issue head-on, they drag out the situation, which can make the liar feel humiliated or caught off guard. Sagittarius may enjoy the process of revealing the truth, but their indirect approach can leave others feeling trapped or betrayed. This passive-aggressive behavior often frustrates those around Sagittarius, as they feel that the truth could have been revealed in a more straightforward and mature manner. It can also lead to unnecessary conflict, making it difficult for people to trust Sagittarius or to feel comfortable in their presence. If you're dealing with a Sagittarius in a situation where dishonesty is involved, it's important to approach them directly and openly. Be honest about your concerns, and they will appreciate the transparency. However, if you try to deceive them, be prepared for Sagittarius to expose the truth in their own way, which may not always be the most pleasant or tactful. Reason 21. Sagittarius is unapologetically honest. Perhaps the most defining trait of Sagittarius is their brutal honesty. While honesty is generally a virtue, Sagittarius takes it to an extreme, often disregarding the emotional impact their words may have on others. For Sagittarius, speaking the truth is a moral obligation, even if it means being harsh or blunt. This lack of filter can make Sagittarius seem cold, insensitive, or even cruel. They feel that honesty is more important than sparing someone's feelings, and they may not always consider how their words will affect others. While they may believe they are simply telling it like it is, their honesty can come across as tactless or hurtful, leaving others feeling wounded or alienated. For those who value diplomacy or the art of sugarcoating difficult truths, Sagittarius bluntness can be difficult to tolerate. They don't believe in beating around the bush, and they are not afraid to speak their mind, even if it causes discomfort. While their honesty can be refreshing in certain situations, it can also strain relationships and lead to conflict. If you want to maintain a relationship with a Sagittarius, it's essential to understand that their honesty comes from a place of integrity. They believe in speaking the truth no matter the cost, but it's also important to communicate with them openly and honestly about how their words affect you. Over time, Sagittarius can learn to temper their bluntness, but it requires mutual understanding and respect. Conclusion. Sagittarius is a sign that is complex, bold, and unapologetically true to themselves. Their independence, honesty, and need for constant growth are traits that can make them captivating and inspiring. However, these very qualities can also lead to tension and frustration in relationships. Whether it's their need for freedom, their blunt honesty, or their emotional distance, Sagittarius often pushes others away without meaning to. Understanding the intricacies of Sagittarius can help you navigate relationships with this fiery sign. While their behavior may seem cold or distant at times, their actions are often driven by a deep desire to preserve their autonomy and live authentically. By respecting their need for independence, valuing their honesty, and recognizing their intellectual pursuits, you can form meaningful connections with Sagittarius that allow both parties to thrive. Remember, the key to understanding Sagittarius lies in their complexity. They are driven by a need for exploration, truth, and self-improvement. When you approach them with respect for their boundaries and passions, you'll be able to appreciate the many layers of this fascinating sign.